Aloha, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Karen Cheong, founder of Spherical Luminosity. She is a catalyst for rising consciousness. She is a visionary, guide, writer, podcaster, and unwavering champion for humanity. Her mission is to help you live your limitless potential and the brilliance of life. So this is my reading your bio, part of your bio here, and I'm not like
Hmm.
so great at writing. I think I need to change my glasses, but the full bio will be at the end. The question that I love asking everyone, Carrie, when I get to ask them this very first uh, question, it never left me. I
Hmm.
always say that because
Hmm.
for some reason, if sometimes it might feel repetitive for my own mind, but it's not. It's always fresh
Hmm.
in a sense. So, how would you introduce yourself? Who is Karen in her own words?
I love that question. Thank you for asking it. Well, first, before I answer it, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on.
Thank
I've
you.
listened to your show, and I just want to acknowledge you because I've created my own podcast, and I have over 240 episodes, and so I know what you're doing isn't easy, and it takes a lot of hard work, and you're creating a tremendous impact for good, and I'm really honored to be part of it. So thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
the other, yeah, of course. And, for everyone who's listening, if you could please do us a huge favor and go leave a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you're listening or tuning in on. So Valeria can have even more impact on even more people, because right now there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of control and there's a lot of darkness. So let's do what we can to spread the good. So I just left my rating on Spotify just a couple of days ago.
Uh-huh.
So come on and join me.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're welcome, of course. So my name is Karen Cheong, and I am the founder of Spherical Luminosity. The process of awakening to the magnificence and the power of who you truly are as co-creator of your reality can be frustrating, not to mention confusing. So many people spin around and in the same place, focusing on the symptoms instead of the hidden root of their problems. So what happens is they continue to experience the same struggles over and over again. I catalyze your shift from the ordinary to the magic of the quantum by giving you the tools to change your frequency resonance so that the life you live matches the life you dream of. I've helped thousands of people in 48 countries access higher resonating versions of themselves. So not only do they feel their unlimited potential, which is incredibly important, their reality reorganizes around them. And what really lights me up the most is how quickly people are waking up to their true brilliance, transforming and up leveling their lives and the lives of those around them. So I guess that's me sort of in a nutshell.
Yes, yes, and it's thank you for being you. It's that's what we want. It feels like a destination in a sense, but and at the same time, as this unfolding, it's moment by moment kind of uncovering, more than
Absolutely.
discovery, but uncovering. So it has
Hmm.
been my own path, pretty much my entire life, coming from
Hmm.
suffering and then trying to find out the reason why we suffered so much. And I guess I would start there. Um,
Hmm.
how do you make sense of suffering? Some say that is it's needed for growth, evolution
Hmm.
of spiritual being, or perhaps our human experience. So it is very important to grow somehow, and then suffering it is
Hmm.
necessary or required. Some say
Hmm.
there are so many different ways of seeing that I have heard from other people, but I would love to hear your perspective. How do
Sure.
you make sense of suffering?
So, yeah, for sure. So, I'm going to take a very different approach to your question. So, for me, suffering comes from the lack of remembering of who you truly are, and because you're experiencing your distortion patterns. So, let me back up a little bit to explain what I mean. So, everything is vibrating. Everybody who listens to you knows that, right? Because I mean, they wouldn't be listening to you, right? All right, so this is not a huge news flash for anyone. All right, so everything is vibrating, and the vibration dictates the form. Okay, so even if you take something really physical like water, the speed of the vibration of the molecules when it's really fast is steam, and when it slows down, it becomes liquid water, and when it slows down even more, it becomes solid or ice. So if you take that same idea and you extrapolate it all the way out to consciousness or to the oneness or the divine or whatever you want to call that consciousness that vibrates at an extraordinarily high rate from which everything comes and to which everything returns, that's vibrating at a speed that we cannot even yet measure with our human tools. It's vibrating that fast. So in order to have something other than the oneness, because if not, it would just be eternal one, right? One forever, because it's one.
Yeah.
So in order for the one to experience variety or anything different, it needs to drop in resonance, right? And so when that resonance drops, frequencies are formed. And when that resonance slows down even more, it becomes energy, or what we talk about as energy. And when that slows down even more, it becomes physical form or matter, things that are solid. It also becomes things like your thoughts and your emotions. So the thing is that we don't really realize is that we think that we just like pop into this lifetime and we're this beautiful, clear signal emanating whatever we think we're emanating out to the universe. But that's actually not what really happens. Yes, of course, your embodiment of the oneness, of source intelligence, of that individuation of consciousness. So yes, of course, you're exactly like that. But you also have what I call layers and 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 layers of duct tape around you. So the way that I perceive us is that we are spheres of this glorious pure source energy or source intelligence. It's extraordinarily bright. But like I said, when you come into embodiment, there are all these layers and layers and layers and layers of duct tape around the sphere. So what happens is that the sphere starts to slow down in its vibrational level. And also, just as importantly, it forgets that it's surrounded by pure source energy all around it. And it forgets that it itself is pure source energy. Completely forgets, like 100% non-awareness. So we think, because we're conditioned to do this by what we've been taught by our cultures and by our lineage, meaning our ancestors, and even to some degree our religions, to focus just on the limited, on the physical, like this is what creates that, right? And now with our culture so obsessed with science, if you can't prove causality in the physical, then somehow you're just like insane. But the physical is very compressed, very, very dense form. And it's so compressed and so dense, which is amazing. But that's not really like the glory of source intelligence, which is at a very high frequency resonance that you are. We just believe, because we keep fixating on it, that that's what we are. Like we've completely forgotten that we're this pure source resonance. So to answer your question, which I'm getting to, what is suffering? So suffering is the fact that you have no memory of who you truly are as source intelligence. And we all think that we're running around in our minds, and our minds are like the end all and be all. Your thoughts, your emotions, that's you. It's not you. It's what I would call the little s self, or your identity. What you also have is this aspect of you as infinite, indestructible consciousness. So, but the thing is, we've forgotten the infinite, indestructible consciousness. We run around trying to find it. Okay, so that's one source of the suffering. The other is you have these distortion patterns that wrap around you, which program you in all these different things like non-worthiness or self-doubt, or I'm not enough, or I can't be in the present moment, or I am scattered all over the place and I can't do enough to prove that I'm awake. That all these different things that we experience. And so because you're playing out and experiencing these distortions, you experience suffering. So that's my long ass answer to your question.
Yes. Well, I love it all. I mean, it's so clear to me. Yes, I'm a student of Advaita Vedanta, which is basically a tool to kind of bring light and clarity to the mind, because that's where the distortions are. It's within the realm of mind, which is a tool. We are consciousness itself. It's very clear in Vedanta that we are what we're looking for. So because I have been studying there for so long, it's kind of so already, yeah, that's it. So I'm able to rest a lot of times within the realm of the distortions, because it's funny, I have tried to make peace with them, or kind of go back to what you say, that it would be this, I call it harmony, just coming in harmony. I use the flower of life or the circle as to me it represents, because it seems like we all have different interpretations of the physical reality, or the reality that we are able to perceive. So I see that circle as the complete, that we are already complete, as you said, we are infinite, of course. But then there's inside of this, and like we are, God's happening. It's we are happening in God. So what's happening inside, it can get pretty confusing because of the use of the body, and then the intellect, and then we have so much in the mind, especially those like myself who have been touched by trauma profoundly. And especially without the mother or the father, we didn't have that love. We were just betrayed by something that was supposed to be very natural, just to be cared for and protected by parents. So it's funny how that, yeah, the distortion, as you call it, it remains there. I don't know. I've been studying, I mean, I've interviewed so many people, psychologists and, Jungian psychology and all that. But I'm wondering if we can just finally, come into, come home, and live with this wholeness as you are. And you very much come across like that beautifully. So is that
Thank you.
possible for somebody like me, yeah, to
Of
come
course.
and, talk to
Yeah.
me about that
So
too.
So your thoughts and your emotions to me are the embodiment of your distortion patterns. That's how you
Mm,
experience them in your form. And that's it. Also, they live out in the repetition of where you get stuck over and over. So, meaning the same kind of relationships that you have, or the same kind of
right.
experience you have of abundance, or the same kind of experience you have at work, or whatever it is that you have. So, the thing is to try and deal with thought from the level of thought is actually really difficult because you're still in the same resonance level of the mind. You actually need to be releasing the distortion, which is at a much higher level of resonance. So the distortion happens at the level of frequency, which is what I talked about at the very beginning, right? So you have source,
Right.
you have a drop down in resonance, that's at the frequency or the quantum level, some people call it, and then it becomes energy. But most people try to use their minds to try and use mindset or whatever it is that they're doing to release, trauma or thought or emotion. And that's somewhat effective. But the problem is the distortion actually happens at the level of frequency. And the thing that's fascinating to me is that we're finally at a time of consciousness where if you can release enough of your distortions, a natural consequence of that, because again, it's like all that heavy duct tape. So if you release the layers of the duct tape, then the sphere itself starts to vibrate faster because it's like, wait, I don't have as much duct tape. So now I can vibrate faster. And when you vibrate faster, your resonance rises. When your resonance rises, all this magic starts to happen because you start to experience different things, meaning the thoughts you have change, the emotions you have change, the timelines that you get to experience changes, because all of it is predicated on the resonance level that you're at. So the thing is, most people, like I said at the very beginning, are kind of like stuck and they're frustrated. But the glorious thing about this time, even though it seems really dark and very polarized, and it is actually, the thing is that this is really a time for us to go within, as you have mentioned already, right? To find ourselves as consciousness. But it's not with the mind. It's actually through rising in your resonance. And the amazing, glorious thing is, again, if you release your distortion patterns, things change. So let me give you an example. So I have a number of clients who find me through friends of friends or however they find me. It's always kind of a bit random. And I'll speak about one in particular. Now, she experienced a high degree of abuse when she was a very young child. And so she found out later that her mother knew that the abuse was happening, but couldn't stop it. So there was a lot of as you can imagine, trauma around the abuse itself and also the abandonment by her mother, right? Or the
Yeah.
perceived abandonment by her mother. Okay,
Yeah.
so this had haunted her. Now, this woman, by the time she found me, was in her, I would say, her mid to late 40s. And she would have all these dark dreams. She always felt she wasn't enough. Her relationships were often filled with trauma themselves. Like she always wasn't sure she could trust people. She always felt like people would leave her,
Mm.
that she always had to please them. Like she always had to do more for them to prove that she was enough so they wouldn't leave her. So all this was playing out in her life because of these
Yeah.
distortion patterns, right, running through her. And that's what caused whatever happened when she was young, etc. So anybody who's experienced
Right.
abuse, it's not like it just happens one time and then that's it, like influences you for the rest of your life, of course. But
Yes.
the incredible thing is in her journey of releasing her distortion around it, the low self-worth, the victim patterns, the disempowerment, the fact that she
Mm.
felt like there was nothing she could do to change it, the despair of it, the grief of it. Like there's so much stuff, right, in terms of distortion patterns. And so as she released them, she started to really shift. So the first thing that starts to happen, now this woman is very intuitive, just generally she's empathic, so she tends to feel a lot. Her dreams, which were filled with darkness, which were always sort of nightmares, where she was going to be abused or chased or like that kind of thing in her
Mm.
dreams, started to shift. So all of a sudden her dreams started to become safe. And not only were they safe, but they started to become prophetic, meaning like, this is going to
Mm.
happen. Be aware. And at first she didn't trust it because she was like, I don't know what's going to happen here. But what happened is her frequency resonance rose. Her dreams changed from dark to not only prophetic, like this is going to happen, but to teaching dreams. So she started to really awaken. And the amazing thing is her relationships started to shift. So relationships that she used to have dropped away. New relationships came in. She found a new
Mm.
sense of community. And what was
Mm.
amazing is that she started to feel like she was enough and that she felt whole and she felt loved and she didn't have to prove that she was worthy of it. She just knew it. And it's really amazing to watch her because before, like if anyone said anything to her that was like negative, it would attack her low self-worth. And really recently, actually just the other day, she wrote in to our customer service saying, I'm a winemaker and these two guys were kind of like, being really negative about my wine. But because I'm so centered now, I'm so aware of who I am as this creative source energy and I've released my distortions. It didn't bother me. I was just like, great, that's your opinion and that's your opinion and that's okay. And it doesn't need to affect me. And it didn't. And she just felt this beautiful amazingness within her, despite what they were saying. Now that's like
Yeah.
such a different person, and it
Yeah.
doesn't take that long, and that's the amazingness I think that can happen these days with, with the work that I do. And now with Consciousness Rising, that it's possible. Yeah.
Wow. Yes, yes, yes. A billion times I always say to that, it is possible. It is very much possible. Because
Absolutely.
sometimes, yeah, it's identification with the mind, right? That's with thoughts, emotions, and all that. One of the things that I became very aware of was exactly that. I'm somebody who is considered an empath, so I feel deeply. And I didn't want to
Yeah.
lose that. And I have met
Mm-hmm.
other empaths that they have done so much healing work to that level where they feel to me like almost like not robots, but they don't
Mm-hmm.
have they don't let themselves to really feel because they're so guarded and they're I feel like fear still behind all that, and I
Yeah.
didn't want to be
Yeah.
like that. Like no, no, no,
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
feel everything. I'm not afraid of feeling, and I wanted to keep
Yeah.
that intact. Do you think that
Yeah.
that becomes sometimes a challenge as well? How can we kind of bring those two worlds together, Karen? The feeling deeply
Yeah.
because I cannot see injustice, for example. If I see
Yeah.
in front of me, of course, I don't watch TV or anything like that. I have no contact with
Mm-hmm.
outside world, but what's in front of me. But then if somebody is kind of somehow hurting other people or animals, innocent nature, there's something, it's just so sad, and that
Of
sadness
course.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, it means something to me. I don't want to let go of that as
Yeah.
so talk to me about, yeah, consciousness and feelings. Can we bring them together?
Of course. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, because a lot of people feel like the awakening process, which is really truly, so let me just explain what awakening means to me, because I think there's so much out there about what
Yeah.
awakening is, and there are many
Right.
definitions, and people stake behind whatever the heck it means to them. So, from my
Right.
perspective, awakening simply means to remember that you are consciousness
Mm,
embodied. Like, you are
mm,
source intelligence embodied.
mm,
And it's about the celebration of both the embodiment, the form,
mm,
and
mm.
also this incredible, amazing awareness, not from your mind, but through your
Mm.
heart space, of this
Yes.
massive consciousness exploding out through your heart space. So that
Right.
to me is awakening. And it's not just like a point, like, ding,
Mm,
I'm awake. And
mm.
now, like, angels sing and there are unicorns prancing around and you have
Yes.
angel wings. Right? So to me,
Yeah.
the awakening process is the beginning. Right? It's infinite, right?
Mm,
You are an
mm.
infinite being. You are here to have
Yeah.
growth and to be aware at increasing levels of consciousness and increasing levels of vibration. Okay,
Yes.
so that
Yes.
to me is awakening. All right.
Mm,
So it's just
mm.
about awareness of self, because ultimately it's about being aware of not only who you are as a human, but also that you eventually, when your resonance is high enough and you've released enough of your vibration, then of your distortion patterns, I should say, you start to recognize, like, I am everything. I just am. And then it's just am. There is no you.
Right.
But to get
Mm,
there, we have to release these patterns of fear, right? Because it's so prevalent in the human experience. I mean, I think it's ridiculous to
yeah.
think, right, in the human experience that if
Uh,
you're not going to experience fear, it's our like most fundamental, most deep distortion patterns. And the thing is, a lot of people, including empaths, don't stay centered in their heart space in their bodies. They float out of their bodies. I've noticed in working with the thousands of people that I have.
yeah.
They want to feel, so they go out of their bodies. You know what I mean? They like float around, they feel everyone else, but there's no awareness of them centered in themselves. And so the thing is, it's a practice of releasing your distortions. And the wonderful thing about frequency work is you can release your distortions and you start to strengthen in your center, meaning in the center of your body, present
Yeah.
in this moment of linear time. Now, that this again is not like a newsflash, right? Like, how many ascended masters have said the same thing? Of course, the same, right? It's the same message, but for some reason, as humans, we find this incredibly difficult. We think it's very challenging, and I'm not laughing at us. It's just funny how we try to, can often make things very complex. But when you
Mm,
start to center in yourself, when you release those fear patterns, what happens is that you are aware of your center. So you're aware of what's happening around you, but it doesn't
yeah.
impact you in the same way. And it doesn't mean like you run around like a little robot, not feeling anything, but it
Mm,
means
mm,
that it doesn't impact your resonance. That's what I mean by that, right? So here you are in this resonance. You witness what's happening in the world. It's not like, I mean, I don't think it's like a huge mystery that what's happening in the external world is a little
mm,
dark and a little
mm,
polarized right now. There's a lot of crazy crap happening. So that's
mm,
happening. But when you start to experience yourself at higher and higher degrees of resonance, and you're centered within yourself, and you can release enough of these fear distortion patterns, you start to have that perspective of what I call the big S self. This is you as infinite, indestructible consciousness. So I'm not saying pseudo awaken, right? Where you're like, yeah, everything's amazing. It's not freaking
right.
amazing. Okay. There's a lot of
Right.
like crap in the world. So you
Yeah.
acknowledge that, but it doesn't actually impact your resonance, because there's a
Mm,
part of you that recognizes the unfolding of what is. And it's not to suffer. Okay, just I want to put that out there, because there's a lot of like weirdness about like, in order
yeah.
to awaken, you must suffer. It's not required, actually. You can actually awaken with experiencing joy, experiencing happiness, experiencing play. And are there moments where you have to be really self aware and recognize your own crap and release it? Yeah.
Mm,
You know what I mean? That's part of the
mm,
awakening process. But it's not like you have to take on the mantle of suffering and be like, I must suffer to awaken. That's
mm,
a lot of religious
mm.
programming in us. So
Yeah.
it's really the
Yeah.
degree to which you're suffering really depends on your amount of distortion, and the degree to which
Mm,
you feel is not limited, but it's about how does it impact your resonance. Make sense? So a lot of empaths come to me because, they're healers themselves and they're like, I don't know. I'm like, maxing out. I can't help anyone. I'm like, yeah, because you've just taken in all their distortions. So the thing is about how do you stay in your center? How do you release your own distortions enough? How do you hold your space so you can help other people still be aware of what's happening, still experience your beautiful, amazing feeling sense, which makes you unique and a gorgeous, magnificent creature, but not have it impact your resonance and how you feel so that you can still contribute the gift that you are.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you said it all. What can I say? There's nothing to add, really. That's it. Yeah. I love the part where you say that awakening, yeah, it's easy to awake, but it's not easy to stay awake. And because
Yeah.
yes, we've got to embrace everything, and especially the space that you meant. Yeah, we think about the heart. And I'm wondering if it is localized. Do you feel like it is localized, the center that you speak of? Some people
Well,
believe it's the.
yeah. So from my perspective, so a lot of people will think of the heart as love, like, human love. Like, I love
Yeah,
you, you love me, like we're friends or we're lovers
yeah,
or we have community. Okay. So there's human love, but you probably have noticed that human love is actually quite distorted, right? Because, there's stuff behind human love in terms
oh
of
yeah.
like needing attention or needing to be witnessed or
Mm,
needing whatever it is that we think we need. Okay. Worthiness. So, so I understand that a lot of people think of the heart as human love, and I respect that, but it is so much more than, human love. The heart is the access point to the infinite.
mm,
It is the access point to the quantum. It is where, if you actually come right to the very center of it, I call it the quantum zero. There are different names for it, but right in the quantum zero, which is right in the center of your heart space, there's a gateway that can be activated where when it's activated, then your what I call your big S self, you is infinite indestructible consciousness, by the way, which is you, okay? You don't have to do any, like, it's already you, right? Because a lot of people think,
mm.
oh, my higher self is out there. It's not, it's you. Okay.
Yeah.
So the thing is, when this is active, right, then all of this pure source energy can come through your heart space. It literally, to me, is like a sun. It's like, okay. Now,
Mm,
as you said, right, it's one thing to enter that resonance of awaken, but then how do you maintain it when you got all this other crap happening
yeah.
in your life? And it's a
Yeah.
practice, right? You're human. It's a lot of times we negate our humanness. We're like, oh, it's so messy
Yeah.
and there's like all this, blah, and we always screw up. And okay, so the thing is, it's not about negating your humanness. You get the glorious gift of being in form and awakening in form. Okay. I just
Mm.
want to say that because a lot of people are like, awakening in form freaking sucks. And I'm like, I'm not saying it's easy. Okay. I believe me. All right. I've been down this road. So like, I'm not suggesting it's like, oh, it's amazing all the time, because it's not. But at the
Right.
same time, let me just make this really clear for your audience. The line to get into the earth at this time, at this level of consciousness, is like literally millions and millions of beings long. Okay, literally. Why? Because for the first time in this experiment of life, we are getting to awaken en masse. Now, does that mean everybody? No, it just means a lot of us. At the same time, in form. Like, is it even possible? Are we the only planet doing this? Of course not. Are we there are other planets and other star systems where they're awakening too en masse in form, but we truly are the first to go. So the amount of attention from higher levels of consciousness on the earth at this time is enormous. And they're all cheering us on. They're like, come on, humans, you can do it, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, let me just explain this to you. If you have incarnated in a form at this time, and I know that your life may feel like mayhem, you can do it, because in order to be embodied at this lifetime, at this level of consciousness, you have to be able to transcend the forgetting, which is tremendous, right? And all this compression of this density where we all run around thinking we're separate and disconnected, and
Yeah.
everything is just about the body and form.
Mm,
Come on. I mean, this is like the biggest
uh,
illusion. So you can do it. So my point simply is, I know it's hard, but the remembering of who you truly are is really through the heart space. Because, I'm not saying your mind is bad. There are all these traditions that are like, your mind sucks. You shouldn't be in your mind. It's like the demon child,
yeah.
okay? Or whatever it is they say. Your mind is amazing. But right now, it's like your primary tool. It's dominant, right? So it's like telling you all this stupid stuff. It tells you what to do. And we run around feeding our minds, right? Like whether it's on social media or on media, whatever the heck we're doing. And we think that mind is the end all be all. Let me just make this clear. Your mind's incredible and it's supposed to be a tool. So what's supposed to happen is that you're here in your heart space. You have this explosion of infinite source energy coming out through your heart space. You remember to focus on that from time to time, right?
Yeah.
And so you live it.
Yes.
And your mind, yeah, exactly. And then your mind is inspired and informed by that creative source energy. And then it has all these images of like, oh, I can create this and that, and this is how I can contribute and all this amazingness. So, I mean, do you still need to buy food? And do you still need to book the plane ticket? Of course you do. But it's not like your mind is dominant anymore. Make sense? So it's, to me, that's what the heart space is.
Yes, 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 and yes. I mean, you're very clear with your message and your own experience. Of course, you're just bringing everything together in such a beautiful way. Yes, very clear to me.
Thank you.
One of the things that I would like to mention is just it came to me recently is the somebody said that, I don't know who, it just made so much sense. The idea of illusion and delusion. So illusion is basically what we're experiencing now with this that you're there, you are you are somebody else in a different body, different name, and I'm here, and then the trees, and then the sky, the ocean. This
Yeah.
is illusion, and it's a beautiful illusion, isn't it? In a way, I have a question for you about that. So it's an illusion, the
Sure.
illusion of separateness, that we almost like the play of life, right? Consciousness
Yeah.
being all this, but then delusion would cause suffering. I think that's what you're referring of with the mind and the distortions. That's the world of delusion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd love to ask you the question about illusion. So how did this come to be from from consciousness that is far
Ah,
from illusory? How did
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I had so
So,
many answers, so I'd love to hear yours. Yep.
yeah, for sure. I'm happy to share my perspective. Okay, so I just want to back up because a lot of people will say the illusion is what causes the suffering. It's not. It's your
Mm,
perspective of the illusion that causes the suffering. Okay. And it's the distortion that runs through your mind and your emotion in resistance to the illusion because you believe you are limited, you believe that you're separate,
mm,
and you believe that you're disempowered. I mean, that's what we're taught. Like, we can't change anything. Like, it's solid. So, I mean, obviously, who am I? I'm not like some freaking magician. That's not going to change. But the thing is, you are a magician, right? You, whether you believe it or not, are source intelligence in form. Okay. So I'm just going to say that because the thing is, the illusion is really there to serve you. The illusion was created for you to awaken to who you truly are. It is spectacular and divine and so detailed and so precise. We created it together to have this experience so we would awaken to the fact that it is an illusion. It is a projection of you. You are creating it so that it is created for you, by you, from you. Okay? It is for you, for your embodiment to wake up to who you truly are. Now, the thing is, the suffering around the illusion is because we don't feel like we can shift it. So we have this a collective agreement about what the illusion is, right? It's like generations and generations and generations old, hundreds of generations who before you have told you the illusion works like this. In order to have enough, you need to do this. In order to get ahead, you need to do that. In order to have love, you need to do this. These are the rules of what we believe you have to do in order to interface with the illusion in a certain way.
right.
It's fascinating. That's the old collective agreement of the illusion. But
Right.
please know when you start to rise in your resonance and you start to remember, and because remember, it's a remembering. Everyone thinks about it as awakening, like we're crawling our way to awakening. It's already you. You're simply remembering it. That's all it is. So I'm saying that because we believe, based on all these generations, all these religions, these cultures, generations, that this is illusion and this is how we have to interface with it. But when you start to rise in your resonance and you start to release these distortion patterns, you recognize, wait a minute, I don't want this collective agreement of the illusion. because I
Right.
don't believe it's true.
Right.
I believe and I know who I truly am. So I recognize that the illusion is here as a gift for me to show me where it is that I still have distortion, what I need to release, how I can rise in my resonance, how I can enjoy the
Mm.
spectacular, amazing beauty of life. Like if you get to a certain tipping point in your resonance, you're like, whoa. Life truly is spectacular. And you start to have more and more synchronicities. Synchronicities are like the little gift from the universe being like, you're on the
Mm.
right path. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Keep
Yeah, the
going.
whisper.
You
Yeah.
know? The whisper. Yeah.
Yeah. I love
So
that. Yeah. Mm.
yeah.
Yes. Oh, I have another question for you. I was just kind of
Go for it.
mesmerized by it's almost like a guided meditation listening to you. I feel that way a
Oh,
lot.
thank you.
Yeah, I always feel that way in the presence of clarity. So the voice. So we have these voices, these forces. We call it forces. The voices. Who asks the question? So a lot of times, that's really the main question. Who is asking the question? Even though some of us already recognize our own, infinite nature or limitless
Mhm.
nature, but we still ask questions, and then there's so much, and sometimes those voices, they seem to come from a different. So, how do we learn to not just distinguish the voices, but how can we unify them? Is there a way? I'm wondering, like
Yeah.
you, for example, do you hear those voices in your mind, and
Mhm.
are you able to kind of ignore them, bypass them? What do you do
Yeah.
when they? Yeah,
Okay.
that's another question.
So yeah, of course. So, you may not believe this, but when I first started on my spiritual journey, I had so much thought. Okay. So I
Yeah.
was thinking all the time, and I was a total control freak. I had a 5-year plan in detail. I'm of
Oh yes,
Chinese
I can
descent, okay?
imagine.
So I was like, all right, there's my outcome. Let me map it. Let me break it down, and I'm gonna get there. All
Yeah,
right. So just for
yeah,
everyone to know. So I had like
yeah.
tons of thought in my head, tons. And what is amazing, and I didn't ask for this, honestly. I promise you, this is not one of my like. I had lots of lists, but this was not on my list. So
Right.
what started to happen is, so
Uh,
originally I started doing yoga because it helped to still my mind, right? So I was just
yeah.
like, okay, I'm going to use my breath, I'm going to use movement. That's the magic of yoga, to return to self, right? And to still the mind. I also used to run. That was my way of like trying to still all the blah 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 that was going on in my head.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what happened is, right, like the incessant freaking thoughts. Good Lord. Anyway, so, and they often would be the same ones. I'm like, really? Again? Anyway, so I would have all
Yeah.
these thoughts. And what happened for me is, as I started to release my distortions, and as I came more in my center and my resonance rose, I started to have less and less thought. And I remember, because I went to a yoga class, I hadn't gone to yoga for a few years. And I went to a yoga class, and the teacher was teaching, and they were like, use your breath to still your mind. And I was like, I hadn't had a thought the entire time. I'm like, what mind? And I'm not saying that because I'm like, oh, I'm so amazing. But for me, it's like these personal victories, where you're like, I
Yeah.
didn't have any thought.
Mm,
Like
mm,
that for me, that's like part of freedom, right? You're like, there's no thought. That's amazing. Now, do I think? I mean, of course I do. I mean, I have my own business and I help lots of people. So of course I use my mind. I'm not saying it. But actually what will
mm,
show me if I've dropped in my resonance is if I'm starting to think. I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
mm,
Resonance
mm.
is dropping here. So that means to me that I'm like, okay, so it's not like it's a horrible thing, like, oh my God, Karen, you suck because you're thinking. It's just like, oh, I'm thinking. All right. Okay, so what's the thought on? What am I ruminating on? And then I go to find the distortion. It's kind of like it's a fun game where you're like, okay, distortion, I will
Yeah.
find you, and then I will sit with you, and then I will release you. You know what I mean? So it becomes
Yes,
like
I
a
love
different
that.
kind of thing, where it's not horrible. And so for me,
Yeah.
like I said, it was this freedom that I didn't expect to have. It just happened. Right
Mm,
now, when I do my work, I have to be in a very, very high resonance, so I don't have thought. Because in order for me to work, I have to, because I'm working at the level of the field and the level of the quantum. There is no thought in the quantum at all. If you're thinking, you're not in the quantum. Like, it's just the way it is, because the resonance is too low, right? So if you're really working at a high level of resonance, you're not thinking. So at least that's my experience of it. And so for me, if I hear thought or words, typically that's when it is a being of a lower resonance. So not the person I'm working on, but for example, there are some people that I work with, they have a lot of ancestral dead in their field that makes their field really heavy. So I know the ancestors can be very powerful. I'm not saying they're not, but a lot of people will have ancestors who are in their field that make them more dense. So because they haven't passed on, because they're afraid or whatnot, it's not like in our cultures, we're really taught what happens after we die, right? So a lot of people, when they die, even if they have faith, are scared because they're like, I don't know what the heck's going on. Right? Fair enough. You don't know. And it's the biggest unknown. It's death, for God's sake. Right? So, what happens is they will often stack into the fields of their relatives that are still remaining. And so sometimes, not always, and I don't do as many one-on-one sessions as I used to, but what I would do is if I would hear thought, I'm like, oh, I would know that it was the dead, because they chatter. Because the dead who are still in your field, they're much more human than the dead that I call the awakened dead. The awakened dead don't talk the way we do. A higher level being doesn't talk, okay, just for everyone to know. A higher level being that's of a higher level consciousness just transmits information to you. It's a complete package of knowledge. There's no words. They don't communicate in words. They're a higher level being. We have to communicate in words because we've forgotten how to communicate telepathically, honestly. So it's like if you meet a dolphin, right? It's not like you're like, hey, dolphin, what's up? If you meet a dolphin, it's like heart merging, right? I mean, like, why are you talking to the dolphin? You know what I mean? That's not how they communicate. Or a whale, for example, right? Like, that's not how like higher level creatures like that communicate. So if you have thought, or when I'm working, if I hear thoughts or words, I'm like, oh, this is a lower level being, like an unawakened dead. So that's when I will clear that out of the person's field. I don't know if that answers your question.
Wow, it does very clearly again. Yes, because it's kind of resonating with the truth something that I know to be true, but I can't talk about with some people around me because they're not ready to hear, or they think I'm crazy. Oh no, it's normal to have all these thoughts. It's normal, yeah. But it doesn't feel normal to me, right? Never felt natural. So it makes so much sense. I absolutely love your clarity. I mean, yes, because coming from that level of frequency. So how did you, that's a question, wasn't one of my initial questions that I had here, is like these guided questions that I didn't ask. So it might be good for the audience to know that you come from law school, a law school graduate and successful real estate entrepreneur, to what you are doing today as a quantum healer.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
Crazy.
Was it an event? Was it this unfolding? That's
Yeah.
the original.
It's, life is a funny thing, Like, we think that we're like running around doing our thing and that we have it all sorted. We just have no clue. So anyway, so I graduated from law school. I interned for a federal court judge in New York, and then I got sick, basically. And that's how my spiritual journey started. I feel like a lot of people have some kind of crisis. That's what catalyzes them in their search. Right. That's what happened for me. I then met an acupuncturist, and I'd seen other acupuncturists, but this acupuncturist literally could see energy around me and where it was blocked without even touching me, she just took one look at me and knew exactly what was wrong. I was like, whoa, I'd never experienced that before. And I was really ill. So he got me from like really ill to like very healthy in a very short period of time. And that catalyzed the question for me, which is, what is there beyond the physical and the scene that creates the physical? Because like what he did seemed like magic to me. And so that opened my spiritual search. I was like, what is there that I can't see? Like, what's the mystery? I think a lot of people are curious, like, how do things work? So that opened me into, I guess, what you would call the woo-woo, right? So I started exploring alternative energy therapies and modalities. And because I'm just like a curious person and I find people kind of fascinating, I started also exploring personal development and coaching and all that sort of stuff. And I started to implement it in our business. And so our business, just for people to know, is that my husband, Chris, and I were at this point now living in San Francisco. And this is after my experience in the dot-com boom. We were now, we had this little real estate practice where we help people buy and sell their homes. And I was implementing everything that I learned because I was like, oh, this is fascinating. And I'm the kind of person, I'm like, well, that sounds great, but like, does it work? You know what I mean? Let's find out. So I was implementing all this stuff. And, our lives became much more rich as a result. And I was still fascinated. But even though our lives looked amazing from the outside, I felt like something was missing. I felt like I was still hitting a ceiling, and I felt a lot of scarcity. So I was, despite having a lot of money in the bank, I felt like I didn't have enough. So I was like spreadsheeting every night how much cushion we had before we had to sell our house and move in with my parents. I'm not sure why that was the marker, but that's what it was. But then I found frequency work, or rather it found me without me really looking for it. And when I found it, I was just like, whoa, what is this? And it wasn't like I felt anything because I was intuitive, but I was just like, I don't even know what the hell this is. But there was something in me that was like, this, whatever this is, I've been seeking for 25 years. I want to do this. And I just had this knowingness. So I just started releasing my distortion patterns and raising my resonance because really I just wanted to stop spreadsheeting. I was just like, I just want to stop feeling like I don't have enough. And then it's funny, a few weeks after doing that, I started to feel better. And my husband said to me, have you noticed that you're not spreadsheeting anymore? And I'm like, no, I actually hadn't. And then I was like, well, what's possible then? So fast forward then 2 years. And all of a sudden, I find myself in Sedona in this tiny little studio apartment where I go into this completely unexpected and ask for it whatsoever, 9-hour meditation where I pierced what I call the veil of forgetting, and I merged back into the oneness. So I experienced like an ego death, right? I didn't have any Karen anymore. And I could just perceive the quantum field. I was just like, everything is possibility. I wasn't thinking, by the way. I just felt it. And I just was part of everything. And when that happened, it was such a profound thing for me because I realized that I'd always been part of everything. And I couldn't believe that I'd forgotten. And so at first I laughed because I was just like, I laughed like in my physical body. I was like, oh my God, how can you possibly forget that you're everything? It's like forgetting you have a hand. And then I just cried because I couldn't believe that I'd forgotten. And anyway, as life would have it, I happened to overlap with a friend who I hadn't seen in years. We overlapped in Sedona for like 12 hours. I worked on her. 3 days later, my phone starts to blow up with people who want sessions with me. I'm like, I don't even know that I give sessions. You know what I mean? So I went from, like you said, like graduating from law school, the judge, dot-com boom, to now having this experience and talking to you about the quantum field. I mean, it's like,
yes, everything just right. It looks very linear, but actually it's not, right? In a sense, there's it's not linear at all. So
not at all.
We almost, gosh, it has been amazing to be in your presence. I have just a question came to me about this memory. So the one who remembers is the same one. So the one who remembers your life as a body, as a person, and had all these experiences, is that the same one that remembers the infinite you? So it's kind of keeps track of everything. How is it different from thinking? It's that kind of memory, right, Carrie? But I'm just trying to
it's so funny. Thank you for asking that question. I think it's an important one, and no one's asked me that question before. So we think of remembering as a mental functionality, right? Like I think, and if I use my little brain, I'm like, I can remember what happened when I was 7 or whatever, right? And then we have what we think is an imprint of that timestamp, right? Like when I was 7, this happened, right? That's what we think.
Right.
Okay. But actually, when I talk about remembering, it's not from your mind. It's actually from a greater source. So this part of you that is infinite, indestructible consciousness, right? Or source intelligence, or whatever you want to call it, okay? What I call the big S self, okay? You as this aspect of you, it's already you. That exists not just as you and this little fragment of you running around in a little body on the earth having this experience. It is you on all these different levels of consciousness, not just you here in different star systems and different planets. So the thing is, I know we think of like ourselves as these linear like beings, but we're really not. We are consciousness. Consciousness is infinite. It creates everything. So we think of it as like this and this and this and this, but it's not like linear like that. So the remembering that I'm talking about isn't like something that you compute with your mind. What happens first is your resonance gets high enough, and because you've released enough of your distortions, that you allow, and the key word is allow, because we're in resistance a lot to the big S self, because we don't feel we're worthy of it, or we don't think we've really gotten it, or we don't think whatever we think we can, or whatever it is, that we can't experience it. But when we actually remember it, in the sense of have an awareness of it, feel it, sense it, or even just know it. It's like for someone like you, it's a feeling, okay? Because not everyone feels. Like everyone thinks they have to feel. You don't have to feel, okay? Like you can just know. Some people are just like, I just freaking know. I don't know how I know, but I can tell you that I know with 100% certainty, right? So when you have that experience, then your conscious mind has an awareness. Okay, we always think that we have to like think something and then we'll have the awareness. No, the awareness happens first and that informs your conscious mind. Make sense? It's the inverse. Everything is the inverse of what we've been taught. Everything happens at the level of the quantum or frequency first. Everything else reorganizes around it. Everything follows the higher vibrating order. It is just the way of the universe. That's why we entrain up in resonance, right? We all want to move into that higher resonating order. So people who are listening right now to us, they'll feel the resonance of it or be aware of it or know it on some level. And they're kind of going to be like, wow, what's that? And the reason you're thinking, you know, the listener out there, what's that? It's because there's a part of you that remembers, that knows, that you're like, wait, I know that. I don't know how I know that. And it's not even a conscious thought yet. You're not like, gee, I'm going to map out my day and now I have this conscious remembering. You're just like, that feels like weirdly familiar, or I want to know more about that. What the hell is that? Right? And you kind of lean in. I did the same thing. I leaned in. I was like, what is that? It's you, right? So what you feel from me is you. You've just forgotten. So please know, like everyone in the spiritual community, they tend to elevate the ones, you know, who have clarity or whatever, who remember. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Okay. It's you are doing this. Okay. It's from you, by you, for you. It's me speaking, but it's you having an experience of you. I know it's a little trippy. Okay. But really you create everything. All right. So I say that because we can always be like, well, I'm not enough. I want to be like her, but you know, I'm not like that. You're not like that yet. You're just remembering. So it's about releasing those distortions so that you can allow yourself to remember. So you can allow yourself to feel, to be aware of, to sense, to know that you are this source intelligence. And honestly, that's what it is. Those distortion patterns are like filters, man. They're like all these filters of all these different thicknesses and opacities and colors. And you think that it's just the reality that you're looking at, but you're not. You're looking through all those filters. So imagine, right? Like you're sitting here on the beach, right? You're in Kauai and there's this glorious, like amazing ocean and the mountains. And there's this like amazing Hawaiian sunset, right? The Hawaiian sunsets are incredible. That's happening. But instead of seeing that, you see a filter of brown, and then you see a filter of yellow, and then you see a filter of gray, and then you see all these different filters, and you have all these warbliness's. So you look through, and what do you see? You see a stormy sky. You see water that's dark. You don't see, you're like, it's kind of like, meh, you know what I mean? And then that's what you think the reality is. That's what you think you are, but you're not that. You just have those filters. And so your best friend can be sitting right next to you and she'll be looking at the same thing you are, but she's like, I don't see that at all. This is what I see because her filters, her distortion patterns are just different from yours. Does it mean it's better or worse? No. You just have different filters. So it's about releasing those filters, releasing those distortions. So you're like, oh my God, the sunset's glorious. I'm glorious. Life is glorious.
Yes, yes. That's it. Yes, yeah. Those are the unfiltered, lands, pretty much no mind in a sense. But thank you for answering that question because I have asked a lot of people, and of course I have my own kind of reference from Vedanta, which is the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita. You're probably aware of it. And and then they say it's very simple the way they put it, that basically you are what is aware of thoughts, you're aware of memories. So you, the real you, it's just
Yeah.
know that, oh, something's thinking, something is
Yeah.
remembering. Even the remembering
Yeah.
of itself, it's
Yeah.
something separate from it, from what you are. So it's not you.
Yeah.
Anything that you can perceive is not you. So basic
Yeah.
Vedanta puts it very simple. Anything that's perceived, that's the object of your awareness, is
Yeah.
not you. So the you is the one, is the subject, is the one who is kind of,
Yeah.
he doesn't do anything. He just kind of sees it all, but
Yeah.
doesn't really interact. Which is kind of
Yeah.
fascinating too. I carry in a way that consciousness doesn't really do anything. It's not a doing. It's just like they put it.
Well,
It's what
yeah,
envelops everything. It's what holds everything
it
together,
is
but it's not
true.
doing.
It's true until your form remembers. Because when
Mm.
your body
Mhm.
remembers and that source intelligence flows through you, now consciousness has a vehicle through which to act, to express,
Mm.
to
Mm.
create, to be, to feel, to
Ah.
play. So the
Mm.
thing is, you are
Mm.
both the form and the consciousness. So, yes, consciousness is observing yourself. And a lot of people are like, well, my consciousness must think that I suck because this is my experience. But
Yeah, that's
consciousness doesn't have judgment, it's neutral.
uh,
It's like, okay, well, I'm just going to be here witnessing until you remember who
yes.
you are. And then we'll have a party. You know what I mean? And so
Yes,
that's kind of
that
what
is
it's
funny.
like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
That is cute. Yeah, the way you put it. Yeah, right. It's such a fascinating play. Yeah, once you can, basically, like you said, it's just consciousness trying to see itself. That's the whole point,
Yes.
that we can just recognize
Bi-
itself,
exactly.
ourselves. When
That is what awareness is. That is the
yeah.
awakening process to becoming greater and greater degrees of awareness of self. Because ultimately, you create everything, including your form. So when
Mm,
you see yourself from different levels of resonance, you're starting to um, like perceive yourself from higher levels of perspective, right?
yes.
And the thing that's wonderful about the humanness, I just want to say this because I think we forget it.
Mhm.
Play is
Yeah.
so important. We all take it very seriously, you know? It's like
Mm.
we gotta really remember, and if we don't remember, we're screwed, you
Yeah.
know what I
Oh
mean? But the
no.
thing is, you know, like
Yeah.
oh my god. But the thing is, like play is such an important thing because why? Well, first of all, your higher self, you may not know this, is extremely fond of play. It thinks it's hilarious because, I mean, just think about it. If you know that you co-create everything infinitely, play is
Mhm.
fun because you can do that. There's no fear, right? You're just like,
Yeah.
let's play, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
like the dolphins. They're always playing, right? And so
Oh,
the
love
thing
them.
is that, yeah, I love them too. And the thing is, when you're in play, if you're true, like if you ever watch a child play, like for real, not on a video game, but like, playing,
Playing. Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
don't really care what the outcome is. They're just like,
Hmm.
whoa, caterpillar, whoa, stick, what's gonna happen? I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Beautiful. Yes. Oh, I love that, Karen. That's one of the most yeah, that's one of the things that consciousness, I don't know. I know that's just a concept again because we're using concept words, and then okay, consciousness. Okay, that's a good, let's leave it at that. But there's something about it that feels very natural to me. Yeah, this play, the joy aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that came to me very
Yeah.
intuitively about 10 years ago or more. So yeah, to
Mm-hmm.
just not take it so seriously, this whole,
Yeah.
call life. So it
Yeah.
has been fun listening to you. So I really appreciate too how fun you are, even explaining these things, and the story
Thanks.
behind the way you illustrate with. I mean, I just love that. There's something about the metaphors, that's just so much fun. That's playful. So
Thank you.
thank you for being playful
Thank you.
too with yeah, with this subject, because I know it can be serious, but it doesn't have to play out that way. It doesn't have to be so
No.
serious, perhaps.
Yeah.
So I want to mention your website, sphericalluminosity.com. And then you are also on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I have everything here. At this very end of
Mm-hmm.
our conversation, what are your final, I wouldn't say thoughts, what are the, what has been left unsaid? How would you like to end this conversation for today?
So, what I would say is it's much more simple than you think. It's already within you. And I know that everyone says that all the time. And you're like, yeah, 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 it's within me, but I can't freaking find it. So that's
I like
great.
that.
Thanks for that helpful tip. Right. But truly,
Yeah.
there's a magnificence that is you. And the thing that keeps you from remembering it is the density of you and where your focus is, which is completely in like the density and form. And a lot of people, when they're seeking, feel like they're not enough. They turn like, I did this too. They turn to gurus and teachers and guides and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not saying that's not helpful, because it is helpful. We need to learn from somebody. I mean, like, you're not like at this little vacuum. But what I'll say is that as much help as they are, it's your journey. It is your power. So you have something called free will, which is extraordinary. And the thing is, as humans, free will, sometimes we use it in a way that is just really dumb. And sometimes we can use it in a way to really heighten our freedom. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what do I choose to believe? Where do I choose to place my resonance today? How can I continue to rise in my resonance? Because it's not about understanding more, trying to get the concept, understanding like this thing and that thing. Honestly, none of that really matters, because that's all a function of your mind. What truly matters is your resonance. The higher your resonance, I'm telling you, your thoughts will shift, your emotions will shift, what you think is possible will shift. And the thing is, we all think we can't do it. Like, we're not enough. Like, someone has to wave their little magic wand over us, or sprinkle their awakening dust on us, or do something because we're too wounded and we're too broken to fix. You're not. Okay. So please be aware of how much power you truly have as co-creator, and truly how really the focus is on about just, it's very simple. Raise your resonance. Now you're like, what the hell? How do I do that? Well, it's all about releasing your distortions, and it's all about really focusing on that. Okay. And I just want to mention this because for your audience, I put together this offer because I think the thing that I had a challenge with when I was on my journey was, will someone just freaking tell me how? If someone could just tell me how, I'll just do it. Can someone just give me like a checklist or something? Now, it's not as simple as a checklist, okay, just for you all to know. However, I just wanted to know how. And so one of the things that I've done for your audience, if I may, is I've put together this bundle, because I want to help people learn how, because it's about you doing it. Okay. No one else is going to do it for you. It's your journey. It's your remembering. It's your awakening to the magnificence of who you truly are. So if you're interested, for anyone listening, for anyone who wants to like empower themselves, right? Who wants to really be like, okay, you know what? I need to release these patterns. I want to rise in my resonance. What do I got to do? So I put together this thing that I call the Resonance Reboot Bundle. It's got 3 parts. One is a frequency accelerator, GFC, which will help you to raise your resonance in like 20 minutes. The second and third parts are things that I offer only to my paid clients. And a GFC is what I call a Group Frequency Calibration, which is my form of meditation with the frequency work in it. And number 2 is a video workshop called Emptying Your Teacup, for those of you who want to clear out the distortion in you so you can rise in your resonance. And number 3 is a workshop called Stability, Growth, and Opportunity in Chaos, which I think we could all use right now, which is that centering that we talked about, Valeria, like right at the beginning. Like, how do you stay centered? So the Emptying Your Teacup is worth $99 in value, and the Stability, Growth, and Opportunity in Chaos is $499. So between the two, that's almost $600 in value for free. Okay, just for your audience. You literally cannot find this bundle anywhere else online. And ultimately, this will help you to finally create momentum so you can really start to live a life you never thought possible. So if you want access to that, it's my gift to your audience. You just have to go to Instagram and DM me the word reboot111. Okay, so just write in the word reboot111. You can find me at spherical _ sorry for the underscore, but it is there, luminosity. Okay, so it's spherical_luminosity. Just DM me reboot111 and I'll get that right over to you.
Ah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much again, Karen, for your presence, your generosity, for your clarity, for everything, for your playfulness. I mean, it's just beautiful. Thank you so much for being you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
So for now, everything will be on the podcast. Notes will be there, so it'll be clickable. It's easier that way. We'll have everything that Kara just talked about. It will be there, so you don't have to memorize it if you don't have to. So have yeah, I'm not memorizing. Thank you so much again, and we'll talk soon. We'll be in touch, Karen. Bye for now. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Aloha.